Okay, welcome everyone. Just a quick sound check. Do I sound okay? And if Zsolt can talk as well, just briefly, just to check his audio levels are okay as well. Zsolt, can you say hello to everyone, please?
Hi everyone. Brian, where can I see you? Because I
You
see
would,
just my.
yeah. The way I do it, I can't share my video because my video is going directly to the stream. So,
Okay.
if you could open up the YouTube stream in a separate window, but it'll be delayed, unfortunately. So. I
Okay.
don't really
Let
have a
me just.
workaround for that yet. So.
Mhm. Okay. No problem. No problem. So hi everyone.
Okay, so I'm assuming that most of the people that will be here are familiar with the Your 2 Kickstarter campaign. This is sort of to answer questions or to get more detail about the last campaign update where you're sent out saying that they're going to work on a new iteration. So it's the YawVR V3 tentatively. So let's just get right into it. So Zsolt, can you tell us about what the changes are in this iteration, please?
Yeah. So as we wrote it into the Kickstarter update. We in the last few months we were working on to figure out how could we decrease the production cost of YA2 because that is essential for us to start the delivery again or over to our Kickstarter backers, which is our first priority. And after, so we investigated here in Hungary how could we somehow reduce the production cost, and in parallel we were discussing about this question with our Chinese partners who were ready to start to produce in China, and they already made a first prototype, so they can produce YA2 in China. And the prototype was great, but the production cost, what we learned, the production cost cannot be much significantly lower or under 10,000 units. So if we go up to 10,000 units per year, then it could be feasible to produce there. But under this level, the production cost a little bit cheaper here in Hungary as compared to China. So it was a little surprise for us that we can produce here in Hungary cheaper. But right now we have to accept this result. And we immediately started to think about another solution, and that was came from Balázs, the main idea to to rethink or redesign the whole YA2 device, which doesn't mean that we build up a new device from the scratch. So it's absolutely not the case, because that would take at least 6 months for us, I believe. But more like to further develop the current device, but with with a very new look, and make as much simplification and optimization as possible. And right now we have a concept, and we already have started to the development part. We have a concept with which we can dramatically decrease the production cost, but it's a significant. The new device will be significantly cheaper to produce as it is now. And and this is what we are talking about now. I don't know if I should jump into the technical details, or or you will ask me.
So I want to respond to one of the factors that you raised there, which is that the production cost ends up working out cheaper in Hungary. Anyone who's skeptical about that, I have multiple connections to other hardware startups who also found out that it was cheaper to manufacture locally than it was to manufacture in China. So that is definitely a possibility in many cases. What you may not know is the cost of manufacturing in China has been steadily rising as the affluence level of the country raises as well. So there's many factors that cause that to happen.
Yeah, maybe. Sorry for the interruption, but
That's okay.
maybe from the US, the price advantage of China is still available and still valid. But for example, from Hungary, which is basically the second poorest country of Europe, the labor cost is not that high as in the US, for example, and maybe this is one of the reasons why it's cheaper or on the same level the production cost as in China. Sorry for the interruption.
All right. So, sorry, I'm just reading the chat. So I will ask some questions that people have asked, but a bit later because they don't fit right now. So, you and I had a call the other night and we discussed some of the hardware aspects. So I guess I think a good one to start on is the simplification of the electronics. So where things are getting moved to make, make assembly easier and also reduce wiring. So can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah. So right now, not right now. So before when we started to produce YawVR, we had at least 10 individual PCBs in the device, which was at that time very high quantity, and we could reduce it to about, I don't know, maybe 6 or something like that. But these were our own designed PCBs. Which is a little bit complicated to produce and stuff like that. For example, the PCBs are much cheaper in China, like in Hungary. It's interesting. So at the beginning of this year, we produce everything in here in Hungary, but now we can produce all the PCBs in China on the about the half price as it is in Hungary. But we just realized that the six panels or PCBs is still quite a high number of PCBs compared to the functionalities, the electronics functions, what we have to handle. And the new idea is that we will use, basically we will have just one our own designed PCB in the new device, and everything else, and this own design PCB is just a holder of the commercial electronics, and everything else will be made from commercial electronics, but still it will be just 4 microcontrollers maybe and one Raspberry, so it will be just about 4 or 5 electronics elements in the design.
And you spoke about moving the Raspberry Pi to a different location from where it's currently housed within the YawVR currently?
Yeah, right now it's also a significant change in our thinking and in the design, that right now the Raspberry Pi is in the 2D module. That means and Raspberry Pi handles the network connection and the USB connection as well. And what we can do now is to move the Raspberry Pi to the pitch part, which is the moving part. And that means the USB will be directly connected to the Raspberry. Even we will put the Raspberry on the edge of the pitch. So basically, the USB input will be part of the Raspberry input. So it's basically the Raspberry's connector will be the USB connector.
So just
there
to
won't be any.
Sorry, so
Yeah,
just
sorry.
to clarify for everyone, the current USB hub, which there was a wiring that ran all the way from the 2DOF just to connect the Ethernet from the hub, the USB from the hub to the Raspberry Pi. Now instead, the Raspberry Pi input-output will be exposed directly from the pitch unit, and you'll be able to plug your USB directly, which will also mean you'll have four USB ports instead of 3. There will be USB 3 speeds. It is a Raspberry Pi 4, is that correct, Zsolt, or is it a 3?
Yes.
Yeah. So it'll be
it's 4.
4. So it'll be USB 3, and you'll have 4 ports, and you could still plug in a USB hub if you wanted to, like a lot of us have. And this will be using the wireless USB, correct? So
yes,
virtual
exactly,
here.
exactly. So right now, you can imagine right now we have the Raspberry. From the Raspberry goes a USB cable to the flat cable. It goes into a connector. From the other side, there is another connector where we attach the flat cable. Flat cable goes up to the pitch. In the pitch, there is a PCB which has not USB but network connection. We plug there the flat cable, and from the PCB goes a cable to the USB hub. So it's many cables with different standards, and it's too complicated, too expensive, and what is more important, it has lots of points where we can experience some issues. So it's not super reliable, but the new solution would be, let's say, as reliable as possible, because you connect directly to the Raspberry Pi, the USB devices.
And what connections from the Raspberry Pi will then have to go back to the microcontrollers? Is that just SPI, or is it, what's the protocol? Do you know?
I'm honestly, I don't know exactly. Maybe IIC, I on the square C. I don't know how it's called in English.
Yep.
So it's IIC, the internal communication, but I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, I guess my question is, do you know how many wires are required for that communication?
Yeah, I think we will need just 2 cables for the communication or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not super familiar with that, or honestly, I don't know exactly.
That's all right. Yeah.
How will be the wiring, but the number of wires will be also dramatically decreased with the new device, because in the pitch we will be very close to the roll sensor, so we have to just somehow the pitch sensor signal send it to up, but it's so the cabling will be also
reduced,
more simple as before.
Yep. Okay, and then the Ethernet. So there is a change in the V3 revision regarding Ethernet, in that it'll only be wireless. Is that correct? The connection to the.
You mean the network connection?
Sorry, yes, network connection. So.
Okay. So maybe this is the only part where we have to make some compromise regarding the YA 2.5. So that is the only point where version 3 could be a little bit downgraded. It is the network connection, because the part of the simplification is that we want to change the slip ring, which transfer the power, and right now it transfers the USB and the network to the upper part. So that's why we can rotate unlimited because of this slip ring. So we just thinking about, or let's say we decided that what if we just leave a very simple slip ring in the rotation platform, which can transfer just the power, which is a simple task for a slip ring. That means the slip ring would cost much less, maybe tenth time of the current cost. I mean 1/10
And
of the
an AC
current
only
cost.
slip ring is likely to be way more reliable as well.
Yeah, exactly, because the power slip ring is a very
common part.
standard common device, and that's why we think, the YawVR for YawVR we need just a very low bandwidth for communication, because between YawVR and your computer there should be sent out just the motion data, which is usually very simple data, and the refresh rate is also very low, or not very low, but not necessarily a very high refresh rate. So that's why we think Wi-Fi could be a good solution for 99% of our users, because it's absolutely enough to send out motion data. It's not video, it's not I don't know, so not high frequency data. It's 100 hertz, around 100 hertz simple data stream. So we think Wi-Fi would be enough, and but in the same time, cabled network connection would be still available, because on the Raspberry Pi, so we will not just show up the USB connectors on the Raspberry Pi, but there is the network connector next to the USBs as well. So you will be able to plug the wired cable into the Raspberry directly if you wish, but it will be placed on the side of the pitch part. So that means if you want to use cabled internet connection or network connection, you need to limit the rotation, maybe for plus minus 90 degree or 180 degree, which is also already a very good rotation capability. But if you want unlimited rotation, then you would need Wi-Fi connection.
Well, I mean, I don't think I've ever plugged cabled Ethernet into any of my, since the YawVR, so, and I've not had any issues. I think the people who've had issues are maybe a long way away from a wireless access point or something, but I have one in my office. So
basically, we never experienced that we need this cable network in single places. I mean, if we made a demo with a closed area, then or at home, it's absolutely not necessary. I believe, it's my opinion. The only place where it could be necessary
like
is when we went to exhibitions. There is a huge Wi-Fi noise, and sometimes even if we put our Wi-Fi router next to the device directly,
still too much
there
noise.
won't be enough. The network wasn't enough good to transfer the signals. So that was the only area where we need cabled network connection, but it's still available. So if we will go into future to showcase or to an exhibition to showcase our device, then we most likely will use cabled network connection, but then we will just limit the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, you probably can't use full rotation in that scenario a lot anyway, in case someone gets hit. So
yeah.
Okay, so can you talk a little bit about the changes to how the 3DOF version will be compared to the current scenario?
Yeah. So there is also a significant change, or there will be, because we had lots of issues with the connection between the rotation platform and the 2D module. Of course, when we try to make a very elegant, I don't know how can I pronounce, a very how can I say, very convenient way to connect the two devices. We use the special connector where you should just put the 2D on the 3D or the rotation module, and that was all what you need to do. But unfortunately, this connector, maybe we called it Molex or something, wasn't very reliable. So we had lots of connectivity issues with that, even after we further developed it, because at the beginning it was a very simple solution and it could damaged, and the connection was absolutely not reliable. After we made some changes on the design, because we used springs to push the connector upward, and even the springs could help to not damage the sensor if you put it on the not proper way or something like that. So it was a little further development, and it was more reliable, but not enough, unfortunately. So right now, our current solution is that you put the 2D on the rotation platform, and you have to connect the wires by your hand, which is a reliable solution, but not really convenient for our users. So it's a little bit technical and stuff like that. And so this is one reason why we started to think about how could we a little bit redesign this part. The other reason is that in the rotation platform right now we have another central PCB, I mean the main board, which is a little bit costly, and honestly it's not. So from the functional point of view, it's a little bit overkill to put a full main board into the rotation platform, where it have to just control one motor without any other important task. So it was also a costly and a little bit overkill solution. And we have there in the rotation platform also an independent power supply, which is also costly and increase the chance of the failures and stuffs like that. And even there is the switches and the connectors for the USB and for the network. The same connector panel as it is on the 2D module, because if it is modular, so that is the main reason why we had to double the connectors. So we think it could be much more simple if we just build together the 2D module and the rotation module. Because if someone don't want to use or buy the rotation module, we can just skip or leave the rotation
hardware
mechanism from the device, but you still will be able to use the device as a 2D device, and it will be a little bit higher, which helps to utilize the full motion forward. Because now maybe if you use the 2D module, I don't know, maybe from 3 to 5 degrees can be the forward movement can be from 3 to 5 degrees less than if you use 3D module, because you have more leg space to move forward. So I think it's a good solution for 2D owners or 2D buyers and 3D buyers as well. And for us, it's a much simple structure, because, okay, inside it's almost the same, but but from user experience point of view, it's much more simple because you don't have to put together the two parts. It will come or arrive in one piece. A little bit cheaper to ship. You don't have to build up that part, and even it can be a little bit lighter because of the less parts, and will be hopefully will be much more reliable because we don't have the doubled functionality in the rotation platform.
Yep.
Basically, the rotation platform will be almost an empty box because the function of the rotation platform will be just to get the supporting legs and hold the rotation part.
Okay. And if someone bought, well, I mean, what is the percentage of people that are ordering a 2DOF versus a 3DOF?
I don't have this data now, but about, let's say, 85% 3DOF and the rest 15%. 15% is 2DOF.
Okay.
This is my intention, but I'm not impression.
It's an estimate.
But but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, and then if someone, so with this new model, if someone ordered a 2DOF originally and then wanted to go to 3DOF, will you ship the parts that they can put inside the current unit, or?
I'm not 100% sure, so I think that would be very complicated.
Okay.
So I think in that case he should replace the device. I think it's not an official announcement, but I will suggest to my partners to think about buyback or back buy.
Like some form of trade-in.
Yeah, so if somebody wants to upgrade his device, then we will buy back their original 2D device, and he will get a new one, upgraded one.
Okay. And what does this all mean for customers or backers that have already received a 2DOF and are still waiting on a rotation platform?
Yeah, it's a good question. We have to decide that if we will send them. So I think most likely we will send them a rotation platform, but it's also possible that we will provide them a replacement. I mean, they can send us back the
original hardware,
the 2D module, because they will need. Oh no! So yeah, we have to consider that, and we think we would need to think a little bit more about that, because the new device, so version 3, will have changes on the connection between the pitch and roll, and so there will be lots of changes. So I don't think the new 2D, which is a 3D module, will be compatible the old one. So I think they will get a 3D module, a rotation platform for their current device.
Okay. And so, like, I potentially have an issue with my connection between my rotation. I'm still waiting to hear back from Daniel. So I would be expecting to get a rotation platform replacement at the moment, I expect. Yeah. So one of the questions, or there's a couple of questions that come through. One of them is, do you have a projected sales for the next 12 months at this point, or?
Sorry, what?
Do you have a projection for sales within? Probably the most important question is, do you have a date that you expect the V3 to be ready to start shipping? Like,
okay.
Is it a month or is it 2 months or?
It's my hope is that so we are working on it with full effort. The only issue is the Christmas season is coming, and in that the second part of December, usually the whole country is just
Shut
shutting
down.
down, and everybody just take out their holidays and stuffs like that. And of course, we cannot avoid it because our employees has
Yeah.
holidays, and so that is the only my only concern, because we are working on full effort to bringing the new device to life. But if we are on the we will going on the right track, then in January I believe we will be able to start the first shippings. I think we will do it on the same way as before, that first we will ship to Europe if we see any issue. But now we are much more experienced in the production and in the testing as well. So I think we will not run into the same I don't know, how can I say, disaster, or I don't know what we did in January. We just rolled out too quickly. Of course, I know too quickly is very relative, because every backers feel that it was too late. But the I think we had to do or did much more tests in January, and we will do it now. So I'm sure that because we don't have a second chance. So if we make another semi-ready device launch in January, then we will not have the chance to prepare this error. So we cannot do that. So we will test this device much more deep as the first. I mean the YawVR device. And so we will release it when it's absolutely ready, but I see a good chance that it can be happened in January.
Okay. And so in the discussion I had with Zsolt the other day, I offered to be a tester for this unit before it starts generally shipping. And that would also, I mean, although I'm in Australia and it's a long way from Hungary, it would be a good opportunity to test how well it holds up to shipping as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
So if, there's no promise from Zsolt, but, he said if they can, he probably will. So how about you, do you want to talk a little bit about the idea, or do you want to hold that for the non-gear based motion system? Do you want to talk about that at the moment, or you want to wait until you've tested further?
I'm happy to talk about that, but please, I ask everyone that please consider it as a concept. So we didn't decide it yet to move to this direction, but I like the idea very much, and it's a little bit changed since we talked to each other, Brian, or after we talked about that. So now we think about to replace the current cogwheel-based driving method to a timing belt, maybe timing belt. The name of the cogged belt, so timing belt solution. Basically, the driving mechanism will be almost the same as now, but we just replace the current cogwheel, which is made from steel. The steel cogwheels we will replace to
pulley.
timing belt.
Timing pulley, yeah.
And that will result, our hope that will result a much more quiet or silent run, and there won't be, because of the timing belt, there won't be any backslash, or what
backlash,
was the
backlash.
Back.
It's basically where there's sort of, when one moves, it has to move a bit before it engages, so you don't get immediate movement.
Exactly. Yes, because of the timing belt, we'll always in contact
Full
with
contact.
the belt
Drive
gearing.
mechanism. Yeah.
There won't be any backslash. Well, how can I say?
Backlash, not slash, but yeah. Okay,
Backlash.
there was
Backlash. Okay.
there was one.
So it's yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, you keep going first. It's all right.
So it will have we honestly when we started to design YawVR, we had this idea, but I don't know why we couldn't figure out how can our customers build together easily this solution. I have no idea why we couldn't figure it out. What we figured out now, which is a nice solution. So it's not complicated. You will get the 2D module with two bars. You have to put one on the one side, the other end of the other side of the pitch, and tightening with a screw, and that's all. And what I like in this idea is that it can decrease the weight of the device because we will not use not
as much
huge
metal,
but significant size of steel, and we will not have backlash, and we will not have noise, and and even what is important right now, we have the locking mechanism, which is a little bit complicated and sometimes a little bit hard to lock. So in that case, you have to move a little bit the pitch when you find the best locking position. But in this case, the timing belt driving will be the locking mechanism itself.
it will hold it down.
So it's also a big simplification, which can just increase the reliability as well. Again.
Yep. It's probably also a lot easier. Like if a belt needs replacing, you don't have to replace a big chunk of metal that goes all the way around the pitch.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, yeah. So right now it's basically impossible to replace the steel part because it's very deeply integrated into the pitch module. Honestly, usually it's not necessary to replace, but I think it's a way better solution, this timing belt solution. But first we have to check it out if it works as we think now or not, because unfortunately it can be happen that because of some reasons it cannot be used.
Yep.
I don't know, but I have big hopes that we can use it because I like it very much, the idea.
After the call the other night, it did occur to me one of the other main contributor to noise is the fans. So yes. I mean, you can't get rid of the fans. I understand that, but I'm wondering.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the fan has to be there. We can think we know this issue, so we experienced this issue as well, that the fan can be a little bit loud. We can check if so. We can do a few things. One is that we will try to place the fans to a place where it is easily replaceable, and the fan is absolutely standard. So if anyone have issue with that, they can just replace it to a more silent version, because I believe if somebody wants to buy an expensive but very silent fan, then they can just replace it. So I will take care about that, or I will propose it to my colleagues to think about this effect, that maybe somebody wants to replace the fan. And we will also check what is the main reason of this noise, because if it's just the fan noise, then we cannot do too much with that. But if it's some structural issue, that maybe something is vibrating because of the fan or something, then we can make it better as well.
Yep. I think the other thing that potentially would improve that is so I think a lot of the noise is actually not necessarily the fan itself, it's that the fan is pulling air through cutouts and so on. So that creates turbulence, and it's also blowing directly into a solid chunk. I know you've got holes drilled in the motor, but you might find that you get better cooling by ducting the air around the outside of the motor, and it would just like pull the heat out of the motor as the air goes past. So we can talk about that offline at some stage if you like, but I think I'm just thinking of like old PC, like PC cooling. A lot of the time DIY builds were quite loud, but if you bought something from Dell or HP, it had ducts in there and it made it a lot quieter, but still managed to cool it effectively. So.
So what we definitely need somehow move the air from the motor to the outside, because if we don't have the cooling system, then the motors can be overheated quickly, because we have high power sometimes. But I agree that there are lots of ways to somehow decrease the noise. At the beginning, we didn't realize that it can be a big issue, because at the beginning we just hear that there is fan noise, but it's not super noisy. But yeah, maybe we can just replace the fan, or as you said, to do some covers. I'm not sure if I understood correctly.
Yeah, ducting. So
idea.
like controlling the flow of air so it goes where you want it to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's possible.
Okay, so I think we've covered, you spoke about a change in the way that the pitch platform was built. Do you want to talk about that? Or?
Yes, so there won't be. So the main structure of the pitch platform will be the same. We just made some modifications of the location of the. I will not be able to explain.
I can. Do you want me to? I can, from our discussion the other night, and you can correct me if I make a mistake. So on the current pitch platform, a lot of the angular sort of at the top it's all rounded, and so the change will be to straight lines instead. Hang on, get in front of the camera. So when an edge comes up, it'll be flat like this instead of a rounded edge, sort of like that, which should make the welding a lot simpler.
Sorry for the interruption. That is mostly a design change. I mean the looking or height looks.
Yep.
But it's also important for us. So as we see on the models, the looks won't be significantly better or worse. It's up to your personal taste. So I think it still will be a very cool looking device, but from producing point of view, it's much easier. And what is important, we can produce it much more precise this part if we use straight lines and not bendings, because the rounded corners are very hard to produce with high precision. So that is the main reason why we wanted to use now straight lines.
So this is me interpreting some of that. So even with relatively simple manufacturing processes, using the straight lines, it'll be much easier to get repeatability, because you'll be able to make a simple jig to hold the pieces in place while you weld them. And whereas the rounded pieces, everything had to line up perfectly, and to get tolerances was difficult. So yeah, that should be a good improvement, I think.
And even the roll mechanism will be a little bit more straight, or I don't know how can I say, lined, and it will increase its strength and stability because of the straight lines.
Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you wanted to say about it?
I'm just thinking about that. So I think pretty much okay, the roll will be a little bit narrower or something, because now the pitch is very, very wide, if I can use this word. Because originally we planned to put there the big table and stuffs like that. So now we just realized that we can make it much more narrower. And if you need side accessories, then you can just assemble the same side rails as now. Just maybe it will be a little bit longer. So that means we can make the roll platform much narrower, maybe as narrow as the seat itself, what you put it on. And it means maybe it's also not an announcement, but maybe we can increase a little bit the roll movement limitations, and also it will be much more easy to ship, because maybe if we make it narrower, we can put the roll and the pitch in one piece into one box, which is a huge improvement for us.
Yeah. So that means it would all just go in one box instead of it was two.
Yeah, and it also would mean that you don't have to assemble the roll module. You should just take out from the box, put it on the 2D module, and that's all. Okay, it's nice. It looks very easy and simple, but I'm sure, according to our experiences, there will be some surprises for us during the development. But there is the chance to decrease the size of the roll and decrease the size of the boxes, and make the shipping more easy. And because of these, the assembly will be also much more easy.
Okay, I think that's probably all there is about the V3. So, I mean, I assume you're actively testing each of these concepts already. Probably it sounds like the only one that's really not basically a given at this point is the change in the drive mechanism for the pitch unit.
Yeah, regarding the driving mechanism, basically it's not just for the pitch unit, but it's for the rotation unit and for the roll unit as well. So if this timing belt mechanism will work, then it will work for every module.
But wouldn't it be correct to say that it would probably work for rotation even if it doesn't work for the other two?
That's true. So basically we started from here. So our original idea was to replace the cogwheels in the rotation module. So that was the first idea, and we started to think that. So I mean, our idea was just to replace the driving mechanism just there, not in the pitch and the roll. And after we came some ideas. Okay, what if we replace the pitch mechanism with a Bowden driving, but very quickly we just reached the idea that we should use there also timing belt and in the roll module as well. So that would be a super ideal solution. We are working on it. We are started to build up the first prototype of the driving. So not the first prototype of the whole unit, but the driving mechanism. And I think we will have some results next week.
Awesome.
And if the result is positive and we see that we can move forward, then the next one this experimental driving mechanism will be on the rotation platform. And if it will be successful, then we goes forward to pitch driving. And if pitch is working, then I'm sure that role will also work. So yeah.
And I've just thought about another advantage of this is it would never get into a situation where it could slip, like can happen with the gears, or has happened to me, where it pitches and then goes.
So originally the cogwheel based driving cannot be slip because of the the force.
They didn't slip. It went to the end of where the teeth were on the pitch platform and skipped. So that wouldn't happen anymore. Yeah.
So I wanted to say that the cogwheel driving itself cannot be slip, but unfortunately at the end maybe we made a little design mistake at the end, two ends. It can be slipped, which has very bad noises, so it's very scary, let's say. But fortunately, it's not really damaged the driving mechanism, but not convenient to hear. But in the new device, yes, it cannot be happened with that because it necessary to logged in the two sides.
And you mentioned the other night that you plan to have sensors at the end of each movement so that the motor would not be able to just try and throw you out, sort of thing.
Yeah. So we planned to build in switches into let's say safety switches into the two ends of YawVR as well, but we couldn't develop it on time. So that's why it's not in it now. But in YawVR 3, it definitely will be there. Even because I think I'm not 100% sure, but if we not built in these safety switches, maybe the bed can be damaged because of the high forces. So we don't want to risk this. So we definitely will have and the switches, I don't know in English.
End stop or something. Yeah.
Yes. And that will help to avoid any more functioning on the ends. But of course, the new sensors are more reliable. So if the sensors are perfect, then you don't need these end switches. But of course, we cannot say 100% sure that never again will any sensor fail in the future. So I'm sure it will be happened, even if we have very reliable solution now. It will be happened, and we want to make another security layer which can save the whole other part of the device.
And one of the suggestions I made the other night was having the sensor for pitch measure the movement of the pitch unit rather than the movement of the motor. So I don't know if that's going to work, but I think that would also...
Basically here, if we just replace to timing belt, then we can attach the sensor to the timing belt. Basically, that is almost what you wished. Of course, the real pitch measurement would be if we attach somehow the sensor to the pitch unit itself. But that looks a little bit complicated. But we can attach to the timing belt, not to the motor. We will check it because we need some space. So maybe it's for us it will be better if we put not on the motor the sensor, but somewhere into the timing belt.
Well, I mean, if the pitch unit is held down, you could use just a rubber wheel on the sensor, and the rubber wheel is just friction against the pitch unit. Maybe, I don't know. It's all the prototyping.
I don't like friction. Honestly, I don't like friction.
Okay.
We learned we learned at YawVR that friction is how can I say, a tricky force.
Yeah.
But of course, most of the time it works.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got one person who has asked a few times, is there any, what's the current status of backers who want to pay to advance their delivery? Is there any, that's on hold at the moment while you're doing this prototype stuff?
Of course, it's a big help for us if backers would willing to pay a little bit more, because it would help us to start. And even if somebody will a little bit overpay to their
Pledge.
Pledge, then he or she will help not just to us but to other backers to get their device. So it's absolutely a big thing if somebody decide to pay, and we are on to open up this this channel, or I don't know how can I say, as soon as possible. We couldn't open it up just because we were in the last few months we were just balancing on the edge, and that is why it was important to mention in our Kickstarter update that it's not. So from outside, maybe you look like, okay, this is YawVR. They are working properly because in the last few months they are just selling their device. Maybe they make big profits, and I don't know. We buy private jets and stuff like that. Unfortunately, not this is the case. The case is that we are really balancing on the financial. I don't know,
Knife
how can
edge.
I say? Yeah, something.
Yeah.
And we could, of course, we made a mistake at the, not of course, but so as you know, we made mistake at the beginning of the year. So we have more warranty requests and issues as we expected at the beginning, which is also a bad thing. Because of that, our sales number not as high as we expected. Now we see since we started to sell 2.5, we see a little ramp ups, and we see great improvement in reliability, because most of the warranty issues came from the
older ones,
2.0 version 2.0, and not from 2.5. Maybe I'm not 100% sure. I have to talk with my colleagues, but 1 month ago we basically almost nothing. We didn't have any significant warranty issue with 2.5. So it's I think it was a great improvement. Of course, we had some bad deliveries. I mean, the device was damaged when it was arrived. So in this case, we have to send out a replacement automatically. But classic warranty issues like, I don't know, sensor issue or something else didn't came up in a serious quantity. So that is a good improvement, and maybe because of that we experiencing a little ramp up. Maybe because of the end of the year and the Black Friday coming and Christmas coming and stuffs like that. But we are still balancing on the edge. We are in a very unstable financial situation, and unfortunately we want, and that's why we are doing everything to deliver again as soon as possible. And of course, we can start first with the people who can overpay a little bit, because that is, from financial point of view, the easiest way for us. But even after, our Kickstarter backers can expect that they will start to get the device. I know there is no any patient from most of our backers, and I know there are lots of angers on that side. And of course, I understand if I would buy a high priced device and I wouldn't get it, I would be this. So it would be the same situation from my side. So I totally understand this part, and that's why I personally and my colleagues are working very hard to somehow correct this issue, and that's why we didn't disappear and I don't know just close the company and stuffs like that, because one part we believe that it's a really good device and even it will be much better, and the second, and maybe in the opposite direction, the most important is that we want to somehow fulfill our promises and deliver to everyone. Maybe this is the, I don't know, the longest Kickstarter
It's not,
project,
trust me.
or I don't know.
No, I read about one about a month ago that took 10 years and they actually delivered 10 years later.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. We don't want to wait.
No, but
please,
you're not the longest
please
one.
don't
So.
misunderstood me that we don't want to be the longest one. We want to deliver as soon as possible. But I can say we don't want to be the company who just disappear and leave their supporters, because we couldn't exist without our backers. So please believe that we don't take it easy. So we work it very hard to somehow correct our faults and yeah, something like that. And also it's important to mention that what we corrected in our update, that of course if we start to produce the version 3, then it will be the part of the Kickstarter project. So everybody from that point, everybody will get 3.0. And I will talk with my colleagues about the rotation platform issue. What if somebody already got the 2D version and didn't get the rotation platform? But our absolutely main goal to deliver to everyone, and I hope from around January, we can start over the delivery to our backers. That would be a big I don't know, turning point for us, and that would help for us to start to grow and start to speed up the delivery.
So I mean, some people may not know because they're not part of the Kickstarter, but you've sold the factory and are still renting it as a way to have more immediate cash flow. Is that correct?
Yeah, not yet.
Okay,
Not yet.
selling.
So we are in the process, because I don't know, 1.5 years ago we just bought this building from because it was quite cheap, let's say, and we that at that time we needed more space, and now because of this financial situation, and we want to make our position a little bit more stable, because as I told you, now we are really balancing. Up until now we always were in the good side of this edge, but we are balancing. So we are planning to sell our manufacturing facility, and we find a potential buyer who are ready to rent back, or how can I say? So we will rent the device,
The factory,
the place back for 2 years. So if we can sell him, we can in the same time sign a 2 years long contract, renting contract, and we can stay there. And part of the the purchase price will go back to him immediately as a, let's say, advantage payment for the renting. So the renting fee will be basically the half of the usual price, which gives us a little bit more safetiness.
Yep.
So that's the plan, and we keep the rest of the money. We have to pay back something to our investor from that, but all the rest of the money will be paid for to start the Kickstarter. Okay, most of
for production.
the money,
yeah,
for production and to be able to deliver to our backers.
Okay. All right. I think we might end up with a short one this time because the last few have been 2 hours. Thank you, Zsolt. I appreciate that. Someone's asked it, and I am interested to know: is the heave unit still potentially a thing in the future, and will it work with either of the options that, like, if someone has the 2.5 or the 2 or the 3, is it likely to work with all of them?
Yeah, so it's originally we planned it as a independent device. So that means you can put it anything, your office chair as well if you wish. But of course, so it will be compatible with YawVR 2 version 3, let's say this way, or YawVR 2 or YawVR 2.5. I have no idea when we'll be. So there is lots of possibilities in the future. As you know, we are planning to release the Infuse software. Maybe it can. We don't know how big success it will be. It can help us to deliver for all Kickstarter backers in time or in one time, or maybe it will be just a failed project. I don't know. So I have no idea. I'm just looking other software manufacturers who can make big success with simple softwares, which is similar to our solution. So it can be a big success as well. The YawVR 2 version 3 also could be a success. That means we can just increase the sales numbers and the manufacturing numbers, and we can decrease the price maybe in the future after we deliver the Kickstarter devices, and it can help us to ramp up our financial situation. And if we will have a little bit more space from financial point of view and number of employees point of view, then we can start over the testing of the Hive platform. And for me, it's a crucial project because I also like the flight simulation, and I know that for flight sim it would be amazing. So it's absolutely on the table. But now of course, our focus is much more.
I think everyone everyone should realize that you've got to deal with getting the V3, the YawVR2s out the door before that's realistically something you can progress further. So, I saw someone ask the other day in the channel, maybe just another 10 minutes. Someone asked or said that they would be interested to understand a bit about your story. How did you get to, as an entrepreneur, what came before the YawVR, and a little bit about that. Are you happy to talk about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. So I didn't expect this question, but of course. So I always I always was an entrepreneur from my early ages. So maybe I worked for other companies just two years in my entire life or something. So I started after the university. I didn't finish the university. I just started to work after 2 years or 3 years in the university, and I didn't finish it. I had a web design company at the beginning of the internet era, especially in Hungary. So here in Hungary, the big internet boom were at 96 or something. And I started to build up a web designer and web developer company. Right after a few years, I moved to founding my advertising company, because I was very interested to graphics design and stuffs like that, and shooting advertise films, or I don't know, so yeah, something like this. And when there was a big crisis, the 2008 or something, there was a big financial crisis all over the world. It started from the US. At that time, our advertising company just go down, and I started to find other ways what I can do, and I started to develop at that time an educational related software. It called Webcam Lab, or later Lab Camera. That was a nice project. I liked it very much. I used a web camera which can recognize its surroundings. For example, if you have a pendulum, for example, you just point the camera toward the pendulum, and I could draw the motion curves or motion diagram in real time. And I could use it on multiple objects and stuff like that. So it was super cool for teaching physics and mathematics in elementary and secondary and high schools. And basically that was a quite successful project, because we sold more than 6 million units all over the world. Okay, our main distributor and exclusive distributor was Intel. I mean the chip company, because they had at that time they had educational related projects, and they just signed with us an exclusive contract. And after a few years, when we realized that, okay, Intel just closed the educational project, and we realized that we have to, basically our investor wanted to sell the company as a startup, because it was a classic startup. So investor wanted to close their position, and they want to sell the company. I was starting to think about about what can I do in the future. And interestingly, I always was interested in motion in VR. I don't know why, but before this YawVR project, I had another project which was far earlier than Catwalk. It was a walking platform. I made a circular place, and there was rollers. There were rollers on the circular area, and it was a gravity-based something. So it was basically same that Catwalk, that you just walking, and your legs always goes back to the center. And because of the moving of the rollers, I could calculate what direction, what speed are you walking, and I just put together it with some headsets, and it was a very cool and interesting project, but it was very complicated from mechanical point of view, and it was very early, because at that time the Oculus headset was just announced on Kickstarter, so basically there were no any commercial headset on the market. So I just didn't continue this project, and later I was working on an exoskeleton based walking platform where you have an exoskeleton on your legs. You are lifted up on the air, and you can just walk. But because on your legs there is an exoskeleton, we could solve it that if you put the leg on a virtual
solid object.
stair,
Yeah.
stair,
Yep.
or something, or some obstacle, then if in the virtual space your leg touches the obstacle,
Yep.
then you
The
couldn't
exoskeleton
move
would
your
hold
leg
you. Yeah.
arm anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, so in this case, you felt so you could not just walking around, but you could feel that if you are going on or up on a slope, or so you could feel anything. It was a super interesting project, but it was very complicated from mechanical point of view for my size, or I don't know, my financial and other capabilities. So I didn't. I had a prototype, but I didn't continue because it was impossible to find investor for that project because it was too futuristic. It's still futuristic a little bit, but at that time it was very futuristic. So it wasn't any chance to get investment for that. Instead of that, when I was thinking how could I move forward, came the idea to build up the first motion simulator which can be placed at home in a super small size. Hopefully, our intention was to build up it as a cheapest motion simulator on the market, and that was YawVR. It was a little bit strange idea because of the shell and the special driving mechanism, and so I have just decided, because I sold my previous startup at that time. I had a little capital, so I just decided that okay, I will not raise any capital before I didn't test made some validation on the market. So we built up a prototype on our own money, and we went to the CES at that time, also from our own costs, and started the first Kickstarter campaign. And then when it was successful, came the Hungarian investor and invested into the project. So basically, that is my short story. I hope it wasn't too long.
Wasn't
so
there
I
one?
always interested. Yeah, sorry.
Wasn't there one other Kickstarter? You did some board game or something?
Yes, it was part of our first project. My previous startup, it called Intelligent, and that Kickstarter project was also educational related. I think it's a super nice idea from my point of view. I like it very much still.
It sounded. I read the page and it sounded good. I read it a while. It was a while ago now. I read the original Kickstarter page some time ago. I found it and it sounded really cool to me. So.
Yeah, it was super cool because it was a stop motion kit. So you had different small piece of papers with drawings and stuff like that. For example, there was 2 small kits and 1 ball. And the kits has, I don't know, 10 variations. The variations like you kick a ball.
Yeah.
And you could put everything together, take a photo, put the next one, take a photo, put the next one, stuff like that. And you have to move in every frame the ball a little bit. And you could get a ruler for this. And for example, with this kit, you can make a very nice stop motion animation where 2 guys just kicking the ball to each other. But in the same time, kids, while they are doing this stuff, they can learn how the diagrams are working, because they can get a ruler. They know that, okay, this is the frames. this is the height of the ball,
Yep.
and this is not just the frame but the time, and they can just so they are playing, they are making a video, but at the end
Also
of the
learning some
video they
physics.
will know
Yeah.
everything about the diagrams,
Yeah.
the movement diagrams. So
Yep.
that was the idea.
Very cool. Well, thank you for
But
that.
unfortunately, we failed. Unfortunately, we failed.
Yeah.
It was from graphical point of view very nice. We had nice videos, but nobody interested, or
That's the
almost
game.
nobody interested. If somebody interested, they can just check our Kickstarter page. The video is there still. So it was a nice idea, but sometimes nice ideas are not nice enough to
Yeah.
have success.
Yeah. I mean, we have some similarities. I run a web development business now still, and I have done a Kickstarter that failed, but we did bring the product to market. But then
Welcome to the club.
yeah, and then that product, the business went out of business during COVID because of manufacturing issues and not having access to suppliers during that time. So yeah, so I understand some of the troubles that you've gone through. But yeah, it's great. I think it's great, everyone, to learn a bit more about you and how you've got to where you are. So, all right, I mean, thank you for your time as always. I hope everyone's got the questions they want answered. And all the best for the prototyping, and we hope to hear some news soon, I guess. And I guess given that the 2.5 has not really had any warranty issues so far, I assume you're going to keep shipping those up until the point that the 3 is ready, or do you?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So we have to, because we are selling it, so we have to ship.
That's good. I mean, it's good that you're getting sales. It's better than not getting sales. So
yeah. I can confirm it that we need it very much, and I also thank you for the chance to be here, and I also thank you the endless patience of our backers, and I hope very soon I can somehow pay back this kindness and patience and willingness to take risk to be able to bring a project to life, and yeah, so we are continue to working on this project, and to somehow solve all these issues what we caused, unfortunately, but yeah, so thank you, and I'm very happy to answer any other questions in the near future, so we can do other meetings or other video interviews in the near future.
Great. All right, thank you. I'm going to end the stream now and see everyone next time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you guys.